So hello, everyone. Very happy to be here and share a little bit of my perspectives as an expert evaluator. So the idea is to run you a little bit through so different points that I think might be interesting for you applicants in this process. So the evaluation gather together some people that have very specific roles, and I think it's important as a start to make it clear on these roles. So evaluators are, as it's being said already, experts. So they will provide you feedbacks on well, they will provide an evaluation of your projects and proposal. Obviously, they are experts, but in a general field of expertise. So, for instance, I'm a medicinal chemist. Obviously, I can understand most of the research that you would propose in the field of medicinal chemistry, but I'm not an expert in a specific target, for instance. So each proposal is assigned to 3 evaluators. And the role of these evaluators is to provide an individual evaluation report. I will come back to that in a moment. And then in the second phase of the evaluation process, among these 3 evaluators, one will be identified as a rapporteur. And the role of this rapporteur is to draft a consensus report. I will also come back to that consensus report in the next slides. And then all together, these 3 evaluators will work very closely with a vice chair. And the vice chair is an experienced evaluator who has in-depth knowledge of the process, of the evaluation process. And the vice chair does not evaluate the proposal. Instead, the vice chair performs a quality check and provides feedbacks to the evaluators and the rapporteur. So it's a very specific process of evaluation. As an evaluator, we have to follow some guidelines, important guidelines. We have to follow independence, so act independently and in the public interest. We have to be impartial. That means that we have to treat all proposals equally and evaluate them based on their merits, irrespective of the origin of the applicants. Objectivity is also very important. Evaluation, the idea is to evaluate each proposal as submitted and not based on the potential of the proposal if certain changes were to be made. So we have to be very objective on what is written and not what is not in the proposal and should be there to make the proposal stronger. Accuracy. So we have to base our judgment on the 3 official evaluation criteria. I will come back to these criteria in a moment as well, and nothing else. So it's only based on these 3 important criteria. Consistency, same standards of judgment to all proposals, and then confidentiality. We do not share anything about the proposal with anyone, actually. So we keep that to ourselves and the other evaluators. So the research executive agency is very strict on conflicts of interests for the evaluators, and so we have to be very careful with that. We should not be involved in any competing proposal. We should not benefit directly or indirectly from the acceptance or rejection of a specific proposal. We cannot have any close family relationship with anyone involved, etc. It means that the rules that we have to follow are very strict in terms of conflict of interest. So as it's being said already, the proposal are built on 2 specific parts, part A and part B. And obviously, where evaluators will spend most time is on part B1. So the part B1 is really where the project will be explained to the evaluator. in terms of the three criteria that we will follow: excellence, impact, and quality and efficiency of implementation. Here again, I want to stress the fact that the page limit is really compulsory, 10 pages. I had to evaluate in the past proposal where probably the number of pages was more than 10, but so those projects are just cut off at the page number 10, meaning that we do not have access to the rest of the project. So we cannot evaluate the proposal correctly in that situation. As it's been stressed also by the previous speaker, the Tran, the CV of the researcher is also very important. And in the part A, it's more administrative information, the associated partners, if there is non-academic placement or a secondment, something like that. And also the proposal budget, but we do not really look at the budget during the evaluation process. So the workflow of the process of evaluation is a two-step process. So in the first phase, each proposal will be assigned to 3 evaluators. And we do not know each other. So at the very start of the process, we do not know who are the other evaluators. And we have to write individual evaluation reports, EIR. And so in these reports, we have to stress and to mention weakness and strengths on every single criteria and sub-criteria. I will come back to that as well. Then when this first phase is finished, we all submit these individual evaluation reports. And among the 3 evaluators, one will be selected as a rapporteur. And the role of this rapporteur is to write a consolidated consensus report where, let's say, all the weaknesses and the strengths that are here present in the single evaluation report from the different evaluators will be summarized in a single document. And this single document will be submitted back to the 2 other evaluators. A discussion will start upon a consolidated report that will be approved by the different evaluators. And then the proposal and the consensus report is sent to the elaboration of an evaluation summary report, but this is not anymore in the hand of the evaluators or the rapporteur. So once the evaluators have elaborated their individual reports, as I said, a rapporteur will draft a consensus report. And at first, this consensus report will be checked by the vice chair. And I think this is a very important step because the vice chair, who is an experienced evaluator in the past, he will actually check that every single item, weaknesses and strengths are understandable, clear, correct, that there is no, let's say, misinterpretation or things like that. And then this consensus report will be sent to the 2 other evaluators. We will discuss and agree on the consensus report contents. And then the final consensus report will be checked again by the vice chair before the scoring step. And it's only then when the consensus report is elaborated that the scoring will start. So we do not score anything before we have a single consensus report with weaknesses and strengths mentioned for every single criteria and sub-criteria. And then once everything is finished with the consensus report that is actually scored, it goes back to the evaluator that can again give their approval for that or not. If not, we come back at the previous step. And then the evaluation is over for the evaluators. Evaluation criteria excellence, impact, and implementation. I weighted as mentioned here. I will then give you some do's and don'ts and tips to make a strong proposal. Do not overlook some of the criteria that appears to be less weighted than others, because sometimes it might be that if you're penalized for one of these criteria, being implementation or impact, it can actually put you below the threshold of selection. So be very careful to address every single, let's say, criteria behind excellence, impact, and implementation. And in the scoring, so we go from 0 to 5 with every single steps between every single numbers to rank and score the proposal. So how do we do that? So how proposals are really assessed? As it's been really well mentioned by Duc Tran just before me. So our job is actually to mention strengths and weaknesses for every single criteria and sub-criteria. And the idea is really to address every single criteria with a qualitative assessment, strengths and weaknesses for these sub-criteria. And you can really trust the system. Vice chair are really keen to see every single sub-criteria assessed with strengths or weaknesses. So this is really important when elaborating the proposal to address all of these criteria and sub-criteria. If they are not addressed, you might be penalized for that. So be very careful with that. So this is how the process goes and how proposals are assessed by the 3 evaluators. Some do's and don'ts. As it's being said by Duc Tran again, evaluators are experts in the broader discipline, so they might not be necessarily very expert in your specific area of research. Therefore, I really strongly encourage you to make your proposal clear and accessible for specialists, but also to non-specialists. It's very important to make it accessible for a broader audience. But at the same time, it's also very important to be specific and detailed. As a medicinal chemist, I think we can understand a lot of different science in the context of medicinal chemistry, no matter the targets, no matter the specific projects. And I think that if other evaluators are like me, we like to, let's say, learn something from the proposal. So do not be too general. I think that proposals that remain too general tend to score poorly. So be specific, detailed, but make it accessible for everyone. Something else is that it's kind of easy to identify where there is a poor match between the applicant and the host institution. But the Marie Curie postdoctoral fellowship should be a win-win collaboration between the applicant and the host institution. So when elaborating the proposal, if you feel that this collaboration is not optimal, honestly, it might be worth considering a different host institution. But it should be very clear from the reading of the project that it should be a win-win collaboration. So the good applicant for the good host institution and reverse. So we have a number of proposals to review. So usually, so during the last 3 years, I've been evaluators, and usually I have between, let's say, 10 to 12 proposals to evaluate. So as it's being said already, do not hesitate to facilitate our work, presenting your proposal in a clear, well-structured, and accessible manner. I personally like when diagrams, visuals, concise explanation are made to improve the understanding. So personally, I like when there are figures that help understand the project's objective, the methodology, the outcomes. Yes, use colors, it's being said, but I think that it's very important that the proposal is actually very attractive when reading, instead of having 10 pages of full text. I think it's really important to have figures and that you make the proposal very, very attractive. Keep in mind that evaluators are required to comment on every criterion and sub-criterion. So ensure to address all of these criterion explicitly, providing really relevant and targeted information throughout the proposal. Do not underestimate criteria that may seem less important. As I said already, neglecting them could cause the proposal to fall below the threshold. So everything is important to address. So for instance, if you feel that it's not important to address gender balance or open science practice or whatsoever, we will have to comment on these as well. So if it's not addressing the proposal, we will have to say it's not addressed to the proposal, and it might penalize you and fall below the threshold during the evaluation. Maybe a specific do's or don'ts regarding fallback plans. We have to comment on contingency plan as well. So I think that evaluators are not easily misled, and we appreciate realistic and well-considered measures to address potential risk or unforeseen situation. So don't be too general. Probably you have to think about realistic fallback plans. And yeah, again, not too general. Something specific as well, do not disregard bibliographic references that may clutter your research. I think that all evaluators will use some keywords in bibliographic engines like Scopus or whatsoever, PubMed to see whether you've taken into account the last, let's say the last paper in the field. So be honest, insightful, realistic, and avoid downplaying any aspect of your scientific work. Maybe a last word regarding the proposal that I had the chance to read so far. I think that most of the proposals are very well elaborated, and I strongly encourage all the applicants to follow the guidelines provided by the agency, because if you follow these guidelines, I think that everything will be in the proposal. And I think that keep in mind that evaluators want to read something and learn something from your proposal. So again, don't be too general and address, elaborate your proposal with detailed information that is really attractive to the evaluators. And that's a little bit what I wanted to share with you. Good luck.